The moment Grant asked me to pretend I didn't know him should have felt like a slap. Instead, it felt like ice water running down my spine, cold and clarifying. I stood behind him in our bedroom, my fingers working the silk of his navy tie into a perfect Windsor knot, watching his reflection in the mirror. His eyes didn't meet mine. They never did anymore, I realized. When had that started? At the party, act like you're not with me, he said, his voice casual, like he was asking me to pick up milk on the way home. I froze for just a second, my hands still on his tie. 3 years. 3 years of my life with this man, and he was asking me to become invisible. The rational part of my brain screamed at me to demand answers, to ask why, to fight. But something deeper, something that had been sleeping inside me for months, maybe years, suddenly woke up. It was a quiet voice, but it was certain. This was it. This was the moment everything changed. Okay, I said. My voice came out steady, almost pleasant. I finished his tie, smoothed down his collar, and stepped back. Grant smiled at his reflection, adjusting his cufflinks. You look good. He always did. Tall, fit, with the kind of smile that made people trust him instantly. That smile had fooled me for 3 years. You look beautiful, babe, he said, finally glancing at me. I wore a red dress, form-fitting and elegant. I'd bought it specifically for tonight because Grant said this party was important for his career. Our careers, he'd said. We worked at the same marketing firm, though in different departments. Thank you, I replied. We drove to the venue in silence. Grant scrolled through his phone the entire time, typing messages and smiling at his screen. I'd stopped asking who he was texting months ago. The arguments weren't worth it anymore. The party was at a rooftop venue downtown, string lights creating patterns against the darkening sky. I pulled up to the entrance. Grant got out immediately, not waiting for me to park or offering to go in together. See you inside, he said, shutting the door. I didn't go inside. I sat in my car for 5 minutes, watching him disappear into the crowd of people. Then I put the car in drive and went home. Our apartment felt different as I walked through the door. Or maybe I felt different. I stood in the living room looking at the space we'd shared for 2 years. The couch we'd picked out together. The coffee table I'd raffinated by hand. The photos on the wall, moments frozen in time when I'd actually believed we were building something real. I walked into the bedroom and pulled my largest suitcase from the closet. Then I started packing. Not frantically, not emotionally. Methodically. I folded each piece of clothing, packed my shoes, my toiletries, my jewelry. I took my laptop, my important documents, my favorite books. I left behind anything he'd given me. I didn't want to carry any of it into whatever came next. It took me 3 hours to pack my entire life into 4 suitcases and 6 boxes. I loaded them into my car, making trips up and down the stairs. None of our neighbors were around. It was a Friday night. Everyone was out living their lives. By the time I finished, it was almost midnight. I sat on the bare mattress in our bedroom, looking at the empty closet where my clothes used to hang. My phone buzzed. Trevor's name lit up my screen. Grant's best friend since college. We'd always gotten along well. Too well, Grant used to joke, though the jokes had an edge to them. Do you know what happened at the party? Trevor's message read. I stared at the words. Part of me didn't want to know. Part of me had already guessed. But I needed to hear it. What? I typed back. The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Trevor was choosing his words carefully. Can I call you? Yes. My phone rang immediately. I answered. Naomi. Trevor's voice was tight, angry. Where are you? Home. I left the party. What happened? You left? Grant said you were there. He said you were in the bathroom when... He trailed off. When what, Trevor? He let out a long breath. Grant proposed tonight. The words hung in the air. I waited for the pain, the shock, the devastation. But all I felt was a strange sense of validation. I'd been right to pack. I'd been right to leave. To who? I asked, my voice steady. Her name is Sienna. She works in his building. Naomi, everyone there thought you two had broken up months ago. He introduced her as his girlfriend. He told people you were just his roommate. Roommate. 3 years and I'd been demoted to roommate. How long? I asked. I don't know. I swear, Naomi, I didn't know about any of this until tonight. He got down on one knee in front of everyone. She said yes. And then someone asked where you were, and Grant said you couldn't make it. That's when I knew something was really wrong. I stepped outside and texted you. I looked around the empty bedroom. Thank you for telling me. Naomi, I'm so sorry. If I'd known he was doing this, I would have told you. You deserve so much better than this. I know, I said. And I meant it. What are you going to do? I already did it. I'm packed. I'm leaving tonight. Good. Don't tell him where you're going. Don't answer his calls. Just disappear. That's the plan. We talked for a few more minutes. Trevor apologized 3 more times. I told him it wasn't his fault. Then I hung up and looked at my packed car one more time. I took one last walk through the apartment, turning off lights. In the kitchen, I saw the meal I'd prepped for Grant's breakfast tomorrow. I dumped it in the trash. On the counter, I left my key and a simple note, "Don't contact me." Then I walked out, locked the door from the inside, and slipped the key through the mail slot. I drove to a hotel near my sister's house. Brooklyn lived 20 minutes away. I'd call her in the morning. Tonight, I just needed to be alone with the rubble of my old life before I started building something new. The hotel room was clean and impersonal. I sat on the edge of the bed and finally let myself feel it. Not the pain of losing Grant. I'd lost him months ago, maybe longer. What I felt was anger at myself for staying so long, for ignoring the signs, for making myself small enough to fit into his life. But underneath the anger was something else. Something that felt almost like relief. I'd spent 3 years trying to be enough for someone who'd never valued me. Now I was free. My phone started buzzing. Grant. I watched it ring, watched his name flash on my screen, and I didn't answer. It rang 4 more times in the next hour. Then the text started. Where are you? Why aren't you here? Babe, call me. This isn't funny. Naomi. I blocked his number. Then I turned off my phone and went to sleep. When I woke up the next morning, the sun was streaming through the hotel curtains. I felt clear-headed and calm. I turned on my phone. 17 missed calls from Grant's number before I'd blocked it. 3 voicemails. I deleted them without listening. Brooklyn was awake. I called her. I left Grant, I said when she answered. Thank God, she replied. When can I help you move? Brooklyn showed up at my hotel room with coffee and breakfast sandwiches at 9 in the morning. My younger sister had never liked Grant, though she'd been diplomatic about it for my sake. Now, sitting cross-legged on the hotel bed, she didn't bother hiding her relief. Tell me everything, she said, handing me a latte. I told her about the tie, the party, the message from Trevor. I watched her face transform from concern to fury as I explained that Grant had proposed to another woman while I was still living with him. What a piece of trash, Brooklyn said flatly. I'm sorry, I know you loved him, but Naomi, he's absolute garbage. I know. Do you? Because you have this thing where you make excuses for people. I sipped my coffee, considering this. Not this time. I'm done. Brooklyn studied my face. You mean it? I mean it. I already packed everything. I left the key. I'm not going back. Where are you going to stay? I don't know yet. Here for now. I need to find an apartment. Stay with me until you do. I shook my head. You have a 1-bedroom. I'll be fine at the hotel for a week or 2. My phone buzzed. A number I didn't recognize. I answered cautiously. Naomi? Trevor's voice. I'm using my work phone. I figured Grant might try to get your new number from your contacts. Smart. What's going on? He came home about an hour ago. Lost his mind when he saw you were gone. He's calling everyone we know trying to find you. He showed up at my place at 7 this morning banging on the door. What did you tell him? That I didn't know where you were and he should leave you alone. He accused me of helping you leave. Said I'd always wanted you for myself. Trevor paused. For the record, he's not completely wrong about that. I always thought you were too good for him. But I never would have crossed that line. I know, Trevor. You're a good person. Grant's not done. He's going to keep looking for you. He called your office. My stomach dropped. What? Yeah. He told your boss there was a family emergency and he needed to reach you. Your boss gave him your personal cell, which he already had. I need to quit. Brooklyn's eyes went wide. I held up a finger, listening to Trevor. Maybe take some time off first? Don't make any big decisions right now. Trevor, Grant and I work for the same company. I can't keep working there. Every day would be running into him, dealing with questions, watching him pretend to be the victim. You're right. I wasn't thinking. It's okay. I have savings. I'll figure it out. After I hung up, Brooklyn looked at me seriously. Are you really going to quit your job? I have to. I can't face him every day. And honestly, I set down my coffee. I've been wanting to leave that company for a year. The pay is average, the benefits are okay, and I've learned everything I can there. Grant's the only reason I stayed. So this is actually giving you an out. Exactly. I spent the rest of the morning on my laptop, updating my resume and reaching out to contacts at other firms. By noon, I had 3 companies interested in interviewing me. By evening, I had 2 interviews scheduled for the following week. Brooklyn helped me move my boxes into a storage unit. We worked in comfortable silence, occasionally laughing about something random. It felt good to do something physical, to take action instead of sitting around feeling sorry for myself. "Can I ask you something?" Brooklyn said as we loaded the last box into the unit. "Always. How are you so calm about this? If someone did this to me, I'd be losing it." I locked the storage unit and turned to face her. I think I've been preparing to leave for months without realizing it. All those nights he came home late, all those times he was on his phone ignoring me, all those moments when I felt like I was auditioning to be his girlfriend instead of just being his girlfriend. I was mourning the relationship long before it actually ended. That makes sense. But still, finding out he proposed to someone else. That part is surreal, I admitted. But also clarifying. There's no ambiguity now. No wondering if I gave up too soon or didn't try hard enough. He made his choice crystal clear. My phone rang. Another unknown number. I sent it to voicemail. It rang again immediately. Different number. "He's using other people's phones," I said. "Block them all." I did. Over the next 3 days, I blocked 15 different numbers. Grant was persistent. He showed up at the hotel, but I'd checked out and moved to a different one across town. He sent emails that I filtered directly to trash. He tried to connect with me on every social media platform. I blocked him everywhere. On Monday, I called my boss and gave my 2 weeks' notice. She was surprised but professional. I told her I'd received an offer I couldn't refuse at another company. It wasn't technically true yet, but it would be soon. "Does this have anything to do with Grant?" she asked carefully. "We broke up. I think a clean break from everything is best." "I understand. I'm sorry to lose you, Naomi. You've been an asset to this team." "Thank you. I'll make sure all my projects are wrapped up or properly handed off." That afternoon, I got a call from one of the companies I'd interviewed with. They wanted to offer me a senior consultant position with a 30% raise. I accepted on the spot. By the end of the week, I'd found an apartment. It was smaller than the place I'd shared with Grant, but it was mine. The building had a doorman, which made me feel safer. Grant didn't know where it was, and I planned to keep it that way. Brooklyn helped me move in the following Saturday. We spent the day unpacking, hanging pictures, and making the space feel like home. I bought all new bedding, new towels, new everything. I didn't want anything that reminded me of my old life. "This place is really nice," Brooklyn said, flopping on my new couch. It was green, bright, and cheerful. "You're doing okay, aren't you?" "I really am." "Have you heard from him?" "Not directly. He stopped trying after I blocked everyone. Trevor says he's telling people I had a breakdown and left without warning. Making himself the victim. Of course he is. I don't care. Let him tell whatever story he wants. The people who matter know the truth." My phone buzzed. An email from Grant's mother. I stared at it for a moment before opening it. "Naomi, please call me. Grant is devastated. I don't know what happened between you two, but he loves you. Whatever the problem is, I'm sure you can work it out. You're so good together. Please give him another chance." I showed it to Brooklyn. She read it and scowled. "Does she know he proposed to someone else?" "Apparently not. Are you going to tell her?" I thought about it. Grant's mother had always been kind to me. But this wasn't my responsibility to fix. No. That's between Grant and his family. I'm not getting involved. I deleted the email and blocked her too. It felt harsh but necessary. I needed complete separation from that entire chapter of my life. That night, alone in my new apartment, I ordered takeout and watched a movie. It was the first Saturday night in 3 years that I'd spent completely alone, and it felt peaceful. No wondering when Grant would come home. No walking on eggshells trying not to upset him. No shrinking myself to fit his needs. Just me, my space, my choices. I fell asleep on the couch, and when I woke up the next morning, I felt lighter than I had in years. Starting my new job felt like stepping into an alternate universe. Nobody here knew Grant. Nobody knew about the proposal or the breakup or any of it. I was just Naomi, the new senior consultant who came with great recommendations and fresh ideas. My first week was intense. I met with clients, attended strategy meetings, and started building relationships with my new colleagues. The work was challenging in the best way. I'd forgotten how much I enjoyed pushing myself professionally. On Thursday, my new boss Rachel called me into her office. She was a sharp woman in her 40s with kind eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. "I wanted to check in," she said. "How are you settling in?" "Really well. Everyone's been welcoming." "Good. I also wanted to mention that we had someone call here looking for you." "A Grant Patterson?" He said it was urgent family business. My stomach tightened. What did you tell him? Nothing. We don't give out employee information. But I wanted you to be aware in case there's a safety concern. There's no safety concern. He's my ex. We had a bad breakup. He's having trouble accepting it's over. Rachel nodded slowly. Do you need security to have his photo in case he shows up here? That would be helpful, thank you. Consider it done. And Naomi? If he continues to harass you, document everything. If it escalates, don't hesitate to involve the police. I hadn't thought about a restraining order, but maybe I should. Grant's behavior was becoming concerning. That evening, Trevor called me. I think you should know that Grant got fired today. What? Why? He's been a mess at work. Missing deadlines, showing up late, spending all day trying to track you down instead of doing his job. His boss finally had enough. Part of me felt bad. Then I remembered the proposal, the lies, the 3 years of my life I'd given him, and the sympathy evaporated. That's not my problem, I said. I know. I just thought you should know in case he tries to blame you or does something stupid. Thanks for the heads up. After we hung up, I thought about Grant losing his job. In the old version of myself, I would have felt responsible somehow. I would have wondered if leaving him had caused this downward spiral. But the new version of myself recognized the truth. Grant's choices had consequences, and those consequences weren't my burden to carry. 2 weeks later, I got a message from an unknown number. This time it wasn't Grant. Hi Naomi, this is Sienna. I think we need to talk. I stared at the message, my finger hovering over the block button. What could Grant's fiancée possibly want to say to me? Curiosity won. About what? About Grant. I found some things. Can we meet for coffee? No. Please. I just need to understand what happened. You got engaged to a man who was living with his girlfriend of 3 years. That's what happened. Anything else you need to know, ask him. I blocked the number. Whatever drama was unfolding between Grant and Sienna wasn't my concern. I'd moved on. The next month passed in a blur of work and self-discovery. I joined a book club that met every other Tuesday. I started taking a pottery class on weekends. I went to therapy and talked through 3 years of relationship patterns that I needed to break. My therapist, Dr. Shah, was excellent at asking the hard questions. Why do you think you stayed so long? She asked during one session. I kept thinking things would get better. That if I just tried harder, was more understanding, gave him more space, he'd start treating me better. And when did you realize that wasn't going to happen? The moment he asked me to pretend I didn't know him. Something in me just knew it was over. That's your intuition. Learning to trust it is important. I thought about all the times my intuition had whispered warnings about Grant. The times he'd lied about where he was. The times he'd gotten defensive when I asked simple questions. The times he'd made me feel crazy for noticing his distance. I ignored it for so long, I said. You're listening now. That's what matters. Brooklyn threw me a new beginning party at her place. It was small, just her, a few of my friends from college and some new friends from my book club. We ate pizza, drank wine, and laughed until my face hurt. To Naomi, Brooklyn said, raising her glass, who finally took out the trash. Everyone cheered. I felt genuinely happy, surrounded by people who actually cared about me. Later that night, as I was leaving, Brooklyn pulled me aside. You're different now, she said. In a good way. You seem more like yourself. I feel more like myself. I didn't realize how much I was shrinking to fit into Grant's life until I stopped doing it. I'm proud of you. Thank you for being here. For all of it. Always. I drove home that night with the windows down, music playing, feeling free. My phone buzzed at a red light. Another unknown number. The message made my blood run cold. I know where you live. I immediately called Trevor. Did Grant say anything about finding my address? No, why? I read him the message. That's not okay. You need to file a police report. It's just a text. Naomi, he's escalating. Getting fired, losing you, the engagement probably falling apart. He's not stable. Please just file a report so there's a record. He was right. The next morning, I went to the police station and filed a harassment report. The officer was sympathetic but honest. Unless he makes a direct threat or shows up at your home, there's not much we can do. But having this on record is important if things escalate. I left feeling frustrated but determined. That afternoon, I changed my phone number completely. I gave it only to Brooklyn, Trevor, my job, and a handful of close friends. Everyone else could reach me through email. The messages stopped. Either Grant didn't have my new number, or he'd finally given up. I hoped it was the latter, but I wasn't counting on it. 3 months after leaving Grant, I barely recognized my life. In the best possible way. My apartment had transformed from empty rooms into a real home. Plants lined the windowsills. Art I'd chosen myself hung on the walls. Books filled the shelves. Everything in this space was mine, chosen by me, reflecting my actual taste instead of compromising with someone else's preferences. Work was going incredibly well. I'd landed 2 major clients in my first month, and Rachel had already hinted at another promotion if I kept up the momentum. The team respected me. My ideas were heard and implemented. I wasn't fighting to be taken seriously the way I had at my old company. On a Tuesday evening, I was at my book club meeting when my phone vibrated. Brooklyn's name flashed on the screen. I stepped into the hallway to answer. "You need to see this," she said without preamble. "See what?" "Grant showed up at your old job today. There's a video going viral in your industry circles. Send it to me." The video was shaky, clearly filmed on someone's phone. But the audio was crystal clear. Grant stood in the lobby of my former workplace, yelling at the receptionist. "I need to speak to Naomi Richardson. It's an emergency. Sir, Ms. Richardson no longer works here." "I know she's here. Tell her I need to talk to her. Tell her I'm sorry. Tell her Sienna left me and I made a mistake." Security appeared in the frame, escorting Grant toward the door. He wasn't going quietly. "Naomi, if you can hear this, please. I love you. I made a mistake. Please just talk to me." The video ended. I felt nothing. Not sympathy, not anger. Nothing. "You okay?" Brooklyn asked. "I'm fine." He's making a fool of himself. Everyone's talking about it. Apparently, this isn't the first place he's shown up. Of course it wasn't. Grant was spiraling and he thought finding me would fix everything. But I wasn't a bandage for his self-inflicted wounds. The next day Trevor called. "I need to apologize." "For what?" "For not seeing who Grant really was sooner. For not telling you about all the times he trash-talked you to us. For not being a better friend." I sat down, processing this. "He talked about me?" "Yeah. Whenever you weren't around, he'd complain. Said you were clingy, boring, that you'd let yourself go. None of it was true, but I should have defended you more. I should have told you what he was saying." The words stung, but they also explained so much. Grant had been checked out of our relationship for much longer than I'd realized. "It's not your fault, Trevor. You're not responsible for his behavior." "Maybe not, but I'm responsible for mine. You deserved better from all of us." After we hung up, I sat with that information. Grant had been telling people I was boring and clingy while I was at home cooking his meals, managing our household, supporting his career. He'd been tearing me down behind my back while accepting everything I gave him. I felt a flash of anger, hot and clarifying. Then I let it go. Holding on to it would only hurt me. That Saturday, I treated myself to a solo brunch at a cafe downtown. I brought a book and ordered French toast with strawberries. The sun streamed through the windows and I felt completely at peace. "Naomi?" I looked up to see someone I vaguely recognized from my old company. A woman named Patricia who'd worked on a different floor. "Hi, Patricia. I heard about what happened with Grant. I'm so sorry." "Thank you, but I'm doing great actually." She looked surprised. "Really? Really? Best decision I ever made." We chatted for a few minutes. She told me that Grant had tried to get my new address from several people at the old company, but no one would give it to him. Everyone knows what he did now. That proposal video got around. No one's on his side. I hadn't known there was a video of the actual proposal, but I wasn't surprised. Everything ended up online eventually. After Patricia left, I finished my breakfast and walked through downtown. The spring weather was perfect, warm but not hot. I passed boutiques and galleries, stopping when something caught my eye. I bought myself a beautiful blue scarf just because I liked it. This was my life now. Simple pleasures, my own choices, peace. On Monday, Rachel called me into her office again. "I have a proposition for you," she said. "We're opening a new division focused on digital strategy. I want you to lead it." "Lead it?" "Rachel, I've only been here 3 months. And in those 3 months, you've proven yourself more than some people do in 3 years. You're talented, hardworking, and the clients love you. This is a big opportunity, but I think you're ready for it." The promotion came with a significant raise in my own team. I accepted without hesitation. That evening, I called Brooklyn to share the news. "See? The universe rewards you when you stop accepting less than you deserve." "I don't know about the universe, but I'll take it." "We need to celebrate. Dinner this weekend?" "Absolutely." As I got ready for bed that night, I thought about where I'd been 3 months ago. Packing my life into suitcases, driving to a hotel, not sure what came next. I'd been scared but determined. Now I was thriving. My phone buzzed. An email from an address I didn't recognize. The subject line read, "Please read this." I almost deleted it, but something made me open it. "Naomi, this is Grant's mom again. I know you blocked me, so I'm trying a different email. I found out what Grant did. The proposal, the lies, all of it. I'm so deeply sorry. You deserved so much better. I raised him better than this. I just wanted you to know that I don't blame you for leaving, and I hope you're doing well. You were always too good for him. With love, Patricia." I read the email twice. Then I wrote back, "Thank you for reaching out. I appreciate your kind words. I'm doing very well, and I hope you're taking care of yourself too. Best wishes, Naomi." I hit send and felt another piece of the past release its grip on me. The new division launched in May, and I threw myself into the work with everything I had. Leading a team was different from being a consultant. It required different skills, different thinking. I loved every minute of it. My team consisted of 4 people, 2 recent graduates eager to prove themselves, a mid-level strategist transferring from another department, and a seasoned veteran who'd been with the company for a decade. Together, we created magic. Our first major campaign for a tech startup exceeded all expectations. The client was thrilled. Rachel was impressed. I felt like I'd finally found my place. "You're a natural leader," my team veteran Carlos told me after a particularly successful presentation. "You listen, you trust us, and you give credit where it's due. That's rare." The compliment meant more than he knew. Grant had constantly criticized my leadership style during the rare times we'd worked together, calling me too soft, too accommodating. Turned out, those qualities were actually strengths when you weren't working with someone determined to undermine you. Outside of work, my life was expanding too. The book club had become a real source of friendship. Every other Tuesday, 6 of us met at a different member's house to discuss whatever we'd read. The conversations ranged from deep literary analysis to complete tangents about life, relationships, and everything in between. It was at book club that I met Helena, who became a genuine friend. She was a lawyer, sharp and funny, with a no-nonsense approach to life that I appreciated. "You're glowing lately," she observed one evening as we helped clean up after the meeting. "I feel good. Really good." "New relationship?" "No, just new life. I left a bad relationship a few months ago." "Good for you. Nothing better than reclaiming your own space." We exchanged numbers and started meeting for coffee outside of book club. Having a friend who knew nothing about my history with Grant felt refreshing. I could just be Naomi, not Naomi who got cheated on, or Naomi who left. My pottery class was also becoming a highlight. Every Saturday morning I spent 2 hours at the studio working with clay. I was terrible at it, but that was part of the appeal. No pressure, no expectations, just the meditative process of creating something with my hands. The instructor, an older woman named Ruth, had a gentle teaching style that made everyone feel capable. "You're getting better," she said one morning, examining my lopsided bowl. "It's still crooked, but it's yours. That's what matters." I took the bowl home and put fruit in it. Every time I looked at it, I smiled at its imperfection. In June, I decided to take a vacation. A real one by myself. I'd always wanted to visit Hawaii, but Grant had never been interested. So I booked a week at a resort in Maui and didn't ask anyone's permission or opinion. The trip was exactly what I needed. I spent days on the beach reading, took a surfing lesson that left me sore but exhilarated, hiked through a bamboo forest, and ate the best poke bowl of my life. I posted photos on social media, something I rarely did, but I wanted to document this moment of pure joy. Brooklyn texted me, "You look so happy. I'm so proud of you." Trevor sent a simple message, "Living your best life. Love to see it." I even got messages from old coworkers and friends I hadn't talked to in months. Apparently, my happiness was visible enough that people noticed. On my last night in Maui, I sat on my hotel balcony watching the sunset. The sky was orange and pink and purple, colors so vivid they didn't seem real. I thought about Grant probably for the first time all week. Not with sadness or anger, just with a quiet acknowledgement of how far I'd come. Leaving him had felt like an ending. But really it had been a beginning. When I got back to the city, I felt recharged and ready to take on whatever came next. Work continued to go well. My team landed another major client. Rachel started talking about making our division permanent, which would mean even more growth and opportunity. At book club in July, Helena mentioned that her firm was having a networking event. "You should come," she said. "Lots of interesting people. Good food. Open bar." I'm not really a networking person. Neither am I, but sometimes you meet cool people. Just think about it. I thought about it and decided why not. The event was at a rooftop bar downtown, and I wore a blue dress that made me feel confident. The event was crowded, loud, and exactly what I'd expected. I grabbed a glass of wine and found a quiet corner, content to people watch. Not a fan of networking events either? I turned to see a man about my age, tall with an easy smile. He wore a green shirt and held a beer. Is it that obvious? I asked. You have the same expression I do. Like you're calculating how long you need to stay before leaving becomes socially acceptable. I laughed. Exactly that. I'm Julian. I work with Helena. She dragged me here. Naomi. Helena convinced me to come too. We talked for the next hour about everything except work. Julian was an architect who specialized in sustainable building design. He was funny and thoughtful, asking questions that showed he was actually listening to my answers. This has been the best conversation I've had all month, he said eventually. Can I get your number? Maybe we could grab coffee sometime? I hesitated. Not because I wasn't interested, but because I wasn't sure I was ready. I recently got out of a relationship, I said honestly. How recently? 4 months ago. And are you over it? Completely. Then what's the harm in coffee? He had a point. I gave him my number. We texted casually over the next week. Nothing heavy, just funny observations about our days and recommendations for movies we thought the other might like. It felt easy and natural. When Julian asked me to coffee, I said yes. Coffee with Julian turned into a 2-hour conversation that ended with plans to see a movie the following weekend. The movie turned into dinner. Dinner turned into a walk through the park. Before I knew it, we'd been casually dating for a month. I was careful not to rush anything. Julian seemed to understand without me having to explain. He didn't push for more than I was ready to give. We took things slow, getting to know each other as actual people rather than jumping into something intense. I like this, I told him one evening as we sat on a bench watching the sunset. No pressure, no drama. Just enjoying each other's company. Me too. Though I should probably tell you that I really like you. Just so we're clear. I really like you too. He smiled. Good to know. Work continued to be incredible. In August, our division officially became permanent, and Rachel promoted me to Director of Digital Strategy. I now oversaw 3 teams and reported directly to the executive board. You've earned this, Rachel said when she gave me the news. Your work speaks for itself. The promotion came with a salary that made me feel financially secure for the first time in my life. I'd always been responsible with money, but Grant had been careless. He'd racked up credit card debt that I'd helped him pay off twice. He'd borrowed money from me that he never paid back. Now, my money was mine alone and I could actually save and invest. I moved into a bigger apartment in September, this one with 2 bedrooms so I could have a home office. Brooklyn helped me move as always. Look at you, she said, standing in my new living room. Director, beautiful apartment, dating a nice guy who actually treats you well. This is what you deserve. It feels surreal sometimes. It's just real. This is what life looks like when you're not settling. I hadn't heard from Grant in months. Trevor occasionally gave me updates, but I'd stopped asking. As far as I knew, Grant was working some entry-level job and living with roommates. Sienna had completely cut him off after discovering he'd used her engagement ring money on paying off debts. His life had fallen apart while mine had bloomed. I didn't take pleasure in his downfall, but I didn't feel sorry for him either. He'd made his choices. In October, my company asked me to speak at an industry conference about digital strategy trends. Public speaking wasn't my favorite thing, but I accepted. It was good for my career and pushed me outside my comfort zone. The day of the conference, I wore a red dress and reminded myself to breathe. My presentation went well. People asked insightful questions and several came up afterward to exchange business cards. One woman, a journalist for a business magazine, asked if she could interview me for an article about rising leaders in marketing. We're doing a feature on innovative thinkers under 40, she explained. Your approach to integrated digital campaigns is exactly what we're looking for. The interview happened 2 weeks later. The journalist asked about my career trajectory, my philosophy on leadership, and my vision for the future of digital marketing. She never asked about my personal life, which I appreciated. The article came out in November. It was a full 2-page spread with a professional photo they'd taken of me. The headline read, Naomi Richardson, Redefining Digital Strategy One Campaign at a Time. Brooklyn called me screaming. You're in a magazine. A real magazine. I bought 5 copies. You did not. I absolutely did. I'm framing one. Julian took me out to celebrate. We went to a nice restaurant, the kind with cloth napkins and a wine list thicker than a novel. I'm really proud of you, he said over dessert. Not just for the article but for everything. You've built an incredible life. Thank you for being part of it. I'm glad to be here. Things with Julian were progressing naturally. We'd started spending weekends together, cooking breakfast and watching movies. He'd met Brooklyn, who gave her approval. I'd met his sister, who seemed to like me. It was healthy and stable and good. I still wasn't ready to call him my boyfriend or make any big declarations, but I could see it heading in that direction. And for the first time since Grant, that didn't scare me. At Thanksgiving, Brooklyn hosted dinner at her place. She'd invited her close friends, Julian and me. It was warm and chaotic and full of laughter. "What are you thankful for?" Brooklyn asked as we went around the table. When it was my turn, I thought about the past 8 months. I'm thankful for second chances, for learning what I'm actually worth, and for the people who stuck with me while I figured it out. Brooklyn teared up. Julian squeezed my hand under the table. Later, as I helped Brooklyn clean up, she pulled me into a hug. "This time last year you were so unhappy. You wouldn't admit it, but I could see it. Look at you now." "I know. It's almost hard to believe it's the same life." "It's not the same life. You built a completely new one." She was right. I'd burned down the old version of my life and built something better from the ashes. In early December, I got an email from Grant. Somehow he'd found my work email address. The subject line read, "I'm sorry." I stared at it for a long moment before opening it. "Naomi, I know you don't want to hear from me, but I need to say this. I'm sorry. For everything. I was selfish and cruel and I took you for granted. You gave me everything and I threw it away for someone who didn't matter. I've spent the last 8 months realizing what I lost. You were the best thing in my life and I ruined it. I'm not asking you to take me back. I know I don't deserve that. I just need you to know that I'm sorry and that I hope you're happy. You deserve to be happy. Grant." I read it twice, waiting to feel something. Satisfaction, maybe, or vindication. But all I felt was indifference. I didn't respond. Instead, I archived the email and went back to work. That evening, I told Julian about it over dinner. "How do you feel?" he asked. "Nothing really. It's like hearing news about a stranger." "That's probably healthy." "Is it weird that I don't care?" "Not at all. You've moved on. That's what you're supposed to do." He was right. Grant was part of my past, a chapter I'd closed. The book of my life had continued without him, and the new chapters were so much better. December brought an unexpected cold snap to the city. I loved it. There was something about the crisp air and early darkness that made everything feel cozy and intentional. Work slowed down as the holidays approached, which gave me time to actually enjoy the season. Julian and I went ice skating even though we were both terrible at it. We saw a Christmas show. We wandered through holiday markets drinking hot chocolate. "This is nice," I said one evening as we walked through a neighborhood known for its elaborate light displays. "Just being present." "You're very good at that," Julian observed. "Being present. A lot of people are always thinking about the next thing, but you actually experience what's happening right now. I learned the hard way what happens when you don't. You wake up 3 years later and realize you missed your own life." He took my hand. "For what it's worth, I'm really glad you're present for this." "Me too." On Christmas Eve, Brooklyn hosted another gathering. This time it was just the 3 of us, her, Julian, and me. We cooked together, played board games, and watched old movies. "This is perfect," Brooklyn said as we cleaned up the kitchen later. "No drama, no stress. Just people who actually like each other." "Set the bar high, why don't you?" I joked. "I'm serious. This is what holidays should feel like." She was right. Everything felt easy and warm and real. The new year started with a major development at work. A Fortune 500 company approached us about a massive rebrand campaign. Rachel assigned it to my division. "This is the biggest account we've ever had," she told me. "If we pull this off, it'll put us on the map nationally." The pressure was intense, but I thrived under it. My teams worked around the clock developing pitches, researching competitors, and crafting the perfect strategy. We presented to the client in mid-January. They loved it. We got the account. The celebration at the office was wild. Rachel popped champagne. The executive board sent congratulatory emails. My teams were ecstatic. "You did it," Carlos said, raising his glass. "This is going to change everything for us." He was right. Within a week, we had 3 more major companies requesting meetings. Our little division was suddenly the hottest thing in the industry. With success came scrutiny. A few weeks into the new project, I received a LinkedIn message from a reporter. "I'm doing a story on successful women in marketing. I'd love to include you. Can we set up a call?" The call happened, and at the end the reporter asked a question that caught me off guard. "I heard through the industry grapevine that you left your previous position following a difficult breakup with a colleague. How did you manage to bounce back so quickly? I paused, choosing my words carefully. I left my previous position because I got a better offer. Any personal situations were separate. As for bouncing back, I don't see it that way. I see it as moving forward to where I was always meant to be. That's a great quote. Can I use it? Sure. The article came out a week later. It was mostly about my professional achievements, but there was one paragraph about my graceful exit from my previous company following personal challenges. It didn't mention Grant by name, but anyone in our industry who knew us could connect the dots. I didn't care. The article painted me as resilient and focused, which was accurate. What I didn't expect was the fallout for Grant. Trevor called me a few days after the article published. You need to know something. Grant saw the article. He's not taking it well. What do you mean? He went on social media and posted this long rant about how you're using your relationship with him to get publicity. It's unhinged. People are roasting him in the comments. Send it to me. The post was worse than I'd imagined. Grant had written several paragraphs about how I'd abandoned him during a difficult time, how I'd weaponized our breakup to advance my career, and how the media was making him out to be a villain when he was the real victim. The comments were brutal. Didn't you propose to someone else while living with her? One person wrote. This is embarrassing, man. Delete this, said another. She dodged a bullet, was repeated multiple times. I screenshotted everything and saved it to a folder just in case. Then I blocked Grant on every platform I'd missed before. Are you okay? Trevor asked when I called him back. I'm fine. He's just making himself look worse. He got fired from another job last week. I think he's spiraling. That's unfortunate, but it's not my problem. I know. I just wanted you to be prepared in case he shows up somewhere. The thought unsettled me, but I pushed it aside. Grant had proven himself to be all talk. He sent emails and texts and made social media posts, but he'd never actually confronted me in person since the night I left. Still, I mentioned it to Julian. Do you feel unsafe? He asked, concern clear in his voice. No, just annoyed. He needs to move on. If that changes, tell me. Or better yet, tell the police. I promised I would. February brought Valentine's Day, which I'd always found overrated. But Julian planned something simple and sweet. We cooked dinner together at his place and watched a movie. No pressure, no grand gestures. Just us. I know we haven't put labels on this, he said as we cleaned up the kitchen. But I want you to know that I'm not seeing anyone else. You're it for me. You're it for me too, I said, surprising myself with how easy the words came. So are we calling this what it is? What is it? A relationship. You're my girlfriend. I'm your boyfriend. We're together. I smiled. Okay. Yeah. We're together. He kissed me and it felt right. No hesitation, no fear. Just rightness. The rest of February passed quietly. Work consumed most of my time as we pushed to deliver on the Fortune 500 campaign. My team was incredible, pulling together to meet every deadline. In early March, Rachel called me into her office. I have news. The executives want to make you vice president of digital strategy. It would mean a significant raise, a seat at executive meetings, and more autonomy for your division. I sat there stunned. Vice president. At 30 years old. Are you serious? Completely. You've earned it, Naomi. What do you say? Yes. Absolutely yes. That night, I celebrated with Brooklyn and Julian. We went to a nice restaurant and toasted to new beginnings. I can't believe how much has changed in a year, Brooklyn said. Last March you were packing up your life. Now you're a VP. It doesn't feel real sometimes. It's real, Julian said. You made it real. He was right. Every choice I'd made since leaving Grant had led me here. And I'd made every single choice for myself, based on what I wanted and deserved. That was the real victory. Spring arrived slowly, the city waking up from winter in stages. Trees budded, then bloomed. People emerged from their apartments, blinking in the sunlight. The energy shifted from hibernation to possibility. I was walking to a coffee shop near my office on a Saturday morning when I saw him. Grant stood in line at the counter, looking smaller than I remembered. He'd lost weight. His clothes didn't fit quite right. His hair needed cutting. He looked tired in a way that went deeper than lack of sleep. I could have left. I could have turned around and walked out before he saw me. But something kept me rooted to the spot. Curiosity maybe. Or closure. Or just the simple fact that I had every right to get coffee wherever I wanted. He turned with his order and our eyes met. The recognition on his face was immediate. He froze, coffee in hand, staring at me like I was a ghost. Naomi. Grant. We stood there, neither of us moving. Other customers flowed around us, the normal rhythm of the coffee shop continuing while we existed in this strange pocket of stillness. "Can we talk?" he asked. "I'm here for coffee. Please. Just 5 minutes." I considered saying no. I'd gotten very good at saying no over the past year. But I was also curious what he'd say. What explanation he thought could possibly matter at this point. 5 minutes, I agreed. We sat at a table in the corner. Grant wrapped his hands around his cup but didn't drink. I waited for him to speak. "You look good," he said finally. "Really good. Happy. I am. I saw the articles about you. The promotion. All of it. I'm glad you're doing well." "Thank you." He took a breath. "I need to apologize. For everything. I was an idiot. I threw away the best thing in my life for someone who didn't matter. I was selfish and cruel and I took you for granted every single day." "You did," I agreed. He flinched at my directness. "I've been in therapy. Trying to figure out why I sabotaged something so good. My therapist says I have a fear of intimacy, that I push away anyone who gets too close. That's not my problem to fix." "I know. I'm not asking you to fix it. I just want you to know that I understand now how badly I hurt you. And I'm sorry." I looked at him across the table. A year ago, this apology would have meant everything. It would have made me question whether leaving was the right choice. It might have even made me consider taking him back. Now it meant nothing. "I appreciate the apology," I said. "But it doesn't change anything. You made your choices. I made mine. We're both living with the consequences. Are you seeing someone? That's none of your business." "Right. Of course. He trailed off looking miserable. "I just thought maybe if enough time passed we could try again. Start over." "Grant, I don't want to start over with you. I don't want anything with you. I've moved on completely. You should too." "I can't. I've tried. I can't stop thinking about what I lost." "Then you need to work on that with your therapist. Because I'm not coming back. Not ever." He looked like I'd slapped him. Good. He needed to hear it clearly. "Is there anything I can do? Anything that would change your mind?" "No. Nothing. We're done. We've been done since the night you asked me to pretend I didn't know you. That was the moment I knew I deserved better." "You do deserve better," he said quietly. "You always did." "I know." I stood up. "I hope you figure out your life, Grant. I really do. But I won't be part of it. Don't contact me again." I walked out of the coffee shop without looking back. My hands were shaking, but not from sadness. From adrenaline. From the finality of it. Outside I called Julian. "Hey," he answered. "I thought you were getting coffee?" I ran into Grant. "Are you okay? Do you want me to come get you?" "I'm fine." I just told him to leave me alone for good. It felt really good actually. "I'm proud of you. That couldn't have been easy." It was easier than I thought it would be. He's a stranger to me now. We talked for a few more minutes, then I went to a different coffee shop and got my drink. I sat outside in the sunshine and called Brooklyn. "I saw Grant," I told her. "What? Where? Are you okay?" I filled her in on the conversation. "I can't believe he asked if you'd take him back," she said, outraged. "The audacity." "I know, but I shut it down. Made it clear there's no chance." "Good. How do you feel?" I thought about it. Free. Like that was the last piece of unfinished business and now it's finished. That's huge, Naomi. Yeah, it really is. The rest of the weekend I felt lighter. The encounter with Grant had been unexpected, but it had given me something I didn't know I needed. Absolute certainty that leaving was the right choice. Monday morning I walked into work feeling energized. My assistant handed me my schedule for the week, which was packed with meetings and presentations. "Also," she said, "someone named Grant called asking for you. I told him you weren't available and took a message." My stomach tightened. What did the message say? Just that he needed to talk to you about something important. "If he calls again, don't take a message. Just tell him I'm not available and hang up." Got it? I went to my office and closed the door. The coffee shop encounter clearly hadn't been enough for Grant. He was still reaching out, still trying to find ways to contact me. I called the police station and spoke to the officer who'd taken my original harassment report. "He approached you in public and then called your workplace?" the officer asked. "Yes. That's not illegal unless he was threatening or aggressive, but it does establish a pattern. I'd recommend documenting everything and considering a restraining order if it continues." I thanked her and hung up. Then I sent an email to building security with Grant's photo, instructing them not to allow him in the building under any circumstances. I wasn't afraid of Grant. But I was tired of him inserting himself into my life uninvited. That evening Julian came over with takeout and we ate on my couch. "Do you think he'll keep trying?" he asked. "I don't know. Maybe. But it doesn't matter. I've made it clear where I stand. If he shows up here, call the police immediately." "I will." Julian stayed over that night. We watched a movie and fell asleep on the couch, his arm around me. It was comfortable and safe and exactly what I needed. The next few weeks passed without incident. Grant didn't call again. He didn't show up anywhere. Either he'd finally gotten the message or he was regrouping. I hoped it was the former, but I stayed vigilant just in case. April brought rain and new beginnings. My division launched the Fortune 500 campaign to massive success. The client was thrilled and the media coverage was extensive. We'd officially put the company on the national map. Rachel treated the entire division to a celebration dinner at an upscale restaurant. As we toasted our success, I looked around the table at my team and felt genuine pride. We built something incredible together. "Speech," Carlos called out. Everyone joined in, clapping and chanting for me to say something. I stood, feeling slightly embarrassed but mostly grateful. "I'll keep this short. A year ago I was in a very different place. I took a chance on a new opportunity and all of you took a chance on me. Together we've done something remarkable. This success belongs to all of us. Thank you for your hard work, your creativity, and your trust. Here's to many more victories." We clinked glasses and the energy in the room was pure joy. The celebration carried into the weekend. Julian surprised me with tickets to see a show I'd mentioned wanting to see months ago. "You remembered?" I said, touched. "Of course I remembered. You matter to me." The show was wonderful. Afterward, we walked through the city, not ready to go home yet. We stopped for ice cream and sat on a bench in the park. "I need to tell you something," Julian said, his tone serious. My heart sank. That tone never meant anything good. "Okay. I'm falling in love with you. Actually, I think I already have. And I needed you to know." Relief flooded through me, followed by something warmer. "I'm falling in love with you too." He smiled and it lit up his entire face. Yeah. We sat there, eating ice cream and grinning at each other like teenagers. It felt right in a way nothing with Grant ever had. Easy. Natural. Real. Monday morning shattered the peace. I was in a meeting with my team when my assistant knocked on the door, looking flustered. "I'm so sorry to interrupt, but there's a situation in the lobby." "What kind of situation?" "Grant is here. Security is with him, but he's demanding to see you. He says he won't leave until you talk to him." My team looked at me with varying expressions of concern and curiosity. I kept my face neutral. "Excuse me," I said, standing. "Carlos, can you continue without me?" "Of course." I walked to the lobby with my assistant, my heels clicking sharply on the tile floor. Through the glass doors I could see Grant arguing with two security guards. He looked agitated, gesturing wildly. I stopped at the reception desk. "Call the police." "Are you sure?" the receptionist asked. "Positive." One of the security guards came inside. "Ms. Richardson, he's asking for 5 minutes of your time. If you talk to him, he says he'll leave peacefully." "I'm not talking to him. I've made that clear multiple times. He's trespassing. I want him removed." The guard nodded and went back outside. Through the glass, I watched him relay this information to Grant. Grant's face went red. He started yelling, though I couldn't make out the words through the thick glass. More employees were gathering, watching the scene unfold. I hated that Grant was making a spectacle, but I wouldn't back down. The police arrived within 10 minutes. 2 officers approached Grant, speaking to him calmly. He kept pointing at the building, at me through the glass. The officers listened, then said something that made Grant's shoulders slump. One officer came inside and spoke to me. "Ma'am, he says you're his girlfriend and there's been a misunderstanding." "I'm not his girlfriend. We broke up over a year ago. I've asked him repeatedly to stop contacting me. I have documentation of his harassment. Would you like to press charges for trespassing?" I thought about it. Part of me wanted to. But another part just wanted this to be over. I want a restraining order. I want it on record that he's not allowed to contact me or come near me. We can help you file for that. Do you have documentation of previous contact attempts? Yes. Multiple emails, texts from different numbers, and he's shown up at previous workplaces. The officer nodded. That should be sufficient for a temporary restraining order. We'll escort him off the premises and you can come to the station this afternoon to file. I watched through the glass as the officers walked Grant away from the building. He looked back once, his face a mix of anger and desperation. I felt nothing. Back in my office, I closed the door and called Brooklyn. Grant just showed up at my work. The police had to remove him. What? Is he insane? I don't know what he is, but I'm filing for a restraining order this afternoon. Good. Do you want me to come with you? No, I'll be fine. I just needed to tell someone. This is getting scary, Naomi. I know. But I'm handling it. After we hung up, I sat at my desk and took several deep breaths. My hands were shaking, but not from fear. From anger. How dare Grant show up at my workplace and cause a scene? How dare he try to force me to engage with him? I pulled up my documentation folder and added notes about today's incident. Time, date, witnesses, police involvement. Everything properly recorded. That afternoon, I went to the police station with all my documentation. The officer who'd helped me before walked me through the process of filing for a restraining order. With this much evidence, you should have no problem getting a temporary order approved, she said. The hearing will be scheduled within a few weeks, and based on this pattern of behavior, I'd expect it to be granted permanently. How long does the temporary order last? Until the hearing. And it's legally enforceable starting immediately once it's served. He won't be allowed within 500 feet of you, your home, or your workplace. What if he violates it? Then he'll be arrested. I signed the paperwork and left feeling slightly better. At least now there would be legal consequences if Grant continued. The temporary restraining order was served to Grant the next day. I got confirmation via email from the court. He'd been officially notified and had signed acknowledging receipt. I hoped that would be the end of it. Trevor called that evening. Grant told me about the restraining order. He's losing it, Naomi. Saying you're overreacting, that he just wanted to talk. He showed up at my workplace after I explicitly told him not to contact me. That's not wanting to talk. That's harassment. I know. I told him he brought this on himself. He didn't want to hear it. Is he going to violate the order? I don't think so. He's scared now. The reality of legal consequences seems to have gotten through to him. Good. For what it's worth, I'm sorry you're dealing with this. You shouldn't have to. Thank you, Trevor. You've been a good friend through all of this. I'm just glad you got away from him when you did. After we hung up, I told Julian about the restraining order. How are you feeling about all this? He asked. Relieved mostly. Now there are real consequences if he keeps trying. I'm glad. You deserve to feel safe. I do feel safe. Just annoyed that it got to this point. It's not your fault he can't take no for an answer. He was right, but part of me still felt guilty. Then I remembered everything Grant had done, and the guilt evaporated. I'd given him 3 years of my life. I didn't owe him anything else. The restraining order hearing was scheduled for 3 weeks later. In the meantime, Grant stayed away. No emails, no calls, no showing up anywhere. The order was working. I focused on work and life and Julian. The Fortune 500 campaign continued to exceed expectations. My relationship with Julian deepened into something steady and real. Brooklyn and I had weekly sister dinners. Everything was good. I refused to let Grant's inability to move on disrupt the life I'd built. The restraining order hearing arrived on a Thursday morning in May. I dressed professionally in a maroon suit and arrived at the courthouse 30 minutes early. My lawyer, someone the company had provided, met me outside. This should be straightforward, she assured me. You have extensive documentation. He showed up at your workplace after being told not to. The temporary order will almost certainly be made permanent. Inside the courtroom, I saw Grant sitting on the opposite side with his own lawyer. He looked nervous, fidgeting with his tie. Our eyes met briefly and he looked away first. The judge reviewed the case efficiently. She read through my documentation, asked me a few questions about the timeline of events, and then turned to Grant. Mr. Patterson, do you dispute any of the facts as presented? Grant's lawyer stood. Your Honor, my client admits he attempted to contact Ms. Richardson, but maintains it was not harassment. He simply wanted closure on their relationship. Ms. Richardson made it clear she did not want contact. Mr. Patterson ignored those boundaries repeatedly, including showing up at her place of employment. That constitutes harassment. The judge looked at Grant directly. Do you understand that continuing to contact someone who has explicitly asked you not to is unacceptable behavior? Yes, Your Honor, Grant said quietly. The restraining order is granted permanently. You are not to contact Ms. Richardson in any way, directly or indirectly. You are not to come within 500 feet of her residence or workplace. Violation of this order will result in arrest. Do you understand? Yes, Your Honor. Good. This court is adjourned. It was over in less than 20 minutes. I walked out of the courthouse feeling like a weight had been lifted. Grant couldn't contact me anymore. Legally, formally, permanently, he was out of my life. My lawyer shook my hand. Congratulations. You're officially free. Thank you for your help. I went straight to work from the courthouse. My team had a big presentation that afternoon, and I refused to let Grant take up any more of my time. The presentation went perfectly. The client loved our latest campaign iteration and approved everything we'd proposed. Afterward, my team celebrated with champagne in the conference room. To Naomi, Carlos said, raising his glass. Best boss we could ask for. To the team, I corrected. None of this works without all of you. That evening, Julian took me to dinner to celebrate both the court outcome and the work success. You're incredible, he said over dessert. The way you handled everything this past year. Most people would have fallen apart. I almost did a few times. But I had good people around me. You also had strength. Don't sell yourself short. I thought about that. A year ago, I wouldn't have believed I had strength. I'd felt weak for staying with Grant so long, for not seeing the signs sooner, for wasting 3 years. But I'd rebuilt my entire life from scratch. I changed jobs, changed homes, changed everything. I created something beautiful and stable and mine. That took strength. You're right, I said. I am strong. Julian smiled. I love you. I love you too. It was the first time we'd said it without qualification. Just simple, honest truth. June brought a major milestone. The company promoted me to executive vice president. At 31, I was the youngest person to ever hold that position in the company's history. The press release went out and my phone exploded with congratulatory messages. Former colleagues, college friends, distant relatives I hadn't spoken to in years. Everyone wanted to celebrate. Brooklyn organized a party at her place. She invited everyone important. Julian, my book club friends, my team from work, Trevor, and a dozen others who'd supported me over the past year. Speech. Someone called out when Brooklyn tapped her glass. I stood, looking around at all these people who'd been part of my journey. A year and a half ago, I made one of the hardest decisions of my life. I left a relationship that was making me small and sad. I didn't know what would happen next. I was scared and uncertain. But I knew I deserved better. I paused, gathering my thoughts. What I didn't know was how much better life could be. I didn't know I'd find a career I loved, friends who genuinely cared, a relationship that felt easy and right. I didn't know I'd become this version of myself. My voice caught slightly. Thank you all for being part of this journey. For supporting me, challenging me, and celebrating with me. This life I've built, it's only possible because of you. Brooklyn hugged me, tears in her eyes. Julian kissed my cheek. My friends applauded. It was perfect. Later that night, after everyone left, Julian and I sat on Brooklyn's couch. I have something to tell you, he said. Good something or bad something? Good. At least, I hope you'll think it's good. He took a breath. I got offered a job in London. A year-long project designing a new sustainable housing complex. It's an incredible opportunity. My stomach dropped. London. As in England. Yeah. I don't have to take it. I can stay here. I just wanted you to know it was an option. I processed this. A year ago, if someone I was dating had gotten this news, I would have immediately started calculating how to make it work, how to follow them, how to reshape my life around theirs. But I'd learned better. You should take it, I said. Really? It's an amazing opportunity. You'd regret saying no. What about us? We'll figure it out. Maybe we do long distance. Maybe I visit. Maybe it doesn't work out. But you can't turn down your dream job for someone you've been dating for less than a year. He studied my face. You really mean that? I do. I care about you, Julian. I love you. But I also love myself enough not to ask you to give up something important. And I love myself enough not to give up what I've built here to follow you. God, I love you, he said, pulling me into a hug. You're remarkable. So are you. We talked late into the night about possibilities. He'd leave in August. We'd try long distance. We'd see what happened. No promises, no pressure. Just two people who cared about each other being honest about their needs. It felt healthy in a way my relationship with Grant never had. July passed in a blur of work and preparation. Julian started getting ready for London. I threw myself into a new campaign. Brooklyn started dating someone nice, a teacher she'd met through friends. Everything was changing, but in good ways. On a Saturday afternoon, I was cleaning my apartment when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Hello? Naomi? It's Sienna. I froze. Grant's ex-fiancée. The woman I'd refused to meet with over a year ago. How did you get this number? I asked Trevor. I'm sorry to bother you. I know you don't want to hear from me, but I needed to say something. I'm listening. I'm sorry. For everything. I didn't know about you when Grant and I started dating. He told me you were his roommate, that you'd broken up months before. I believed him. I feel like such an idiot. You couldn't have known. I should have questioned it. The signs were there. I just didn't want to see them. She paused. He did the same thing to me eventually. Started seeing someone else while we were engaged. I found out from a friend. That's when I finally understood what kind of person he is. I'm sorry that happened to you. I deserved it probably. Karma for being part of hurting you. You didn't know. That's not your fault. Thank you for saying that. I saw your promotion announcement. You're doing amazing things. I'm happy for you. Thank you. After we hung up, I sat with that conversation. Sienna had called to apologize, to make amends. Part of me appreciated it. Another part just felt tired of anything connected to Grant. But I understood the impulse. Sometimes you needed to clear the air, to say sorry, to try to make things right. I'd done the same thing with people I'd hurt over the years. I texted her back. I appreciate you calling. I hope you're doing well too. She responded with a simple heart emoji. And that was it. Another loose end tied up. Another piece of the past put to rest. August arrived too quickly. Julian's last week in the city was bittersweet. We spent every available moment together, making memories to carry us through the separation. The night before his flight, we had dinner at the restaurant where we'd first celebrated my promotion. I'm going to miss you, I said. I'm going to miss you too. But we'll make it work. And if we don't? Then we'll have had something beautiful for the time it lasted. That's still worth it. He was right. Even if long distance didn't work out, what we'd had was real and good. I wouldn't regret it. At the airport the next morning, we held each other for a long time. Text me when you land, I said. I will. And I'll call you tomorrow. Be amazing over there. You be amazing here. One last kiss and then he was gone, disappearing through security. I drove home with tears in my eyes, but they weren't sad tears. They were grateful tears. Grateful for what we'd shared. Grateful for what we'd learned from each other. Grateful for a healthy relationship that ended with mutual respect instead of betrayal. Life continued. Work remained incredible. My division kept growing, kept succeeding. Brooklyn's relationship developed into something serious. My book club friends became some of my closest confidants. And Julian and I video called twice a week. We shared our lives across the ocean. Some weeks were hard. Some weeks were easy. But we were trying, and that mattered. 1 year to the day after I'd left Grant, I sat in my apartment reflecting on everything that had changed. I'd gone from broken and uncertain to confident and successful. I'd built a career I loved, friendships that sustained me, and self-respect that no one could take away. My phone buzzed. An email notification. I opened it out of habit. It was from Grant's email address. The subject line read, "Please." I stared at it for exactly 3 seconds. Then I deleted it without opening it. Whatever he had to say, I didn't need to hear it. That chapter of my life was closed. The book had moved on to better stories, better chapters, better everything. I turned off my phone completely and poured myself a glass of wine. Tomorrow was Monday, the start of a new week, new opportunities, new possibilities. But tonight, I just wanted to sit in the life I'd built and appreciate how far I'd come. Outside my window, the city lights twinkled against the darkening sky. Somewhere out there, Grant was living with the consequences of his choices. Somewhere across the ocean, Julian was building something incredible. Somewhere nearby, Brooklyn was probably on a date with her new boyfriend. And here, in this apartment that was entirely mine, filled with things I'd chosen, decorated with memories I wanted to keep, I was exactly where I needed to be. Happy. Free. Complete. The girl who'd packed her life into suitcases and driven away in the dark felt like someone from another lifetime. But she was still me. Just the version of me who'd had to fall apart to become whole. I raised my glass to her, to that scared but determined woman who'd chosen herself. "Thank you," I whispered. Then I took a sip and smiled, ready for whatever came next.